Welcome to another episode of I'm Dying to Tell You. This is Dr. Mark Goulston, and I'm sharing things that I'm dying to tell you that I want to pass on before I pass on. Today's episode may sound odd coming from someone who's heading towards the end of his life, but I don't seem to have much control over what I think of. I wake up at 3 a.m. and I write down 5 episodes, and some I do that next day, some I hold off on, because one of these days I'm not going to wake up at 3. So I want to get these out. And today's will sound like that's really odd coming from a dying person, but I want to share it with you anyway. I want to talk about how to win friends and influence important people, how to win friends and influence important people. And I want to give you 2 ways to do it. Frequently important people have written books, and I've written or co-authored 10 books. And I will tell you, our books are like our babies. Maybe they shouldn't be, but they're like our babies. And we don't know if they're smart or stupid, beautiful or ugly. And we do occasionally check our reviews on Amazon. And I'll tell you something that grabs most of us authors' attention. Sometimes, if we're lucky, we can have hundreds of written reviews. I've had thousands, but frequently we won't have any video reviews. And because we have very few or no video reviews, if we have one, we're going to look at it. And so I would suggest that you find someone that you would like to influence who's written a book, check out their book on Amazon, and if they don't have any video reviews, give them a video review. And here are the elements of the video review that you should cover. As an author, I would love it if my readers get the main point that I'm trying to get across. Why did I write the book? What does that say about me? You can often find out why they wrote the book by reading the back cover, because the back cover is often the promise of the book. So in your review, talk about something so that the author can think, oh, you really get who I am. You really get why I wrote this. And then also add on page such and such, and mention something that you particularly related to, you found helpful, and you used, and this was the result. Because when you mention a page number, it actually indicates to the author that you might have read the book. Because we see a lot of reviews that are great, they're flowery, but we have no idea if the person read the book. Now you can see the difference in written reviews when someone gives a long review with all the chapters and summaries. Those are wonderful. I love reading those because it actually meant that they got something out of the book, and I often learn from those reviews. But if you do a video review and you're the only one, that's going to grab their attention. And you might actually reach out to them. And you could say, I read your book. I loved your book. I gave a video review of your book. I hope you were pleased with it. And I just wanted to take a chance on reaching out to you. And when you reach out to them, don't hit on them. Add more to what you appreciated about what they said. And if you do this, I can't guarantee it'll get through to every important person, but you'd probably get through to me, but I'm not that important. Here's the other way. When people give keynotes at conferences, important people that you'd like to connect with, and I've given keynotes, one of the things that happens after a keynote is they have questions and answers. And that can be a very awkward moment. Because I can tell you, as someone who's giving keynotes, when there are no questions, you often think to yourself, it's not because I was profound. You often think to yourself, I really missed it with this audience. So there's a certain period of awkwardness or anxiety. Also, when they call for questions and answers, if someone right out of the gate asks the question that is totally off the wall, insulting, embarrassing, the audience is going to rubberneck in to see how you handle that potential embarrassment as the speaker, and it's not going to be very comfortable. So what you do if you want to influence that speaker is a week before they're going to give their talk, you reach out to their assistant and you say, I am attending the conference that your boss is going to speak at, and I'm so looking forward to seeing and hearing from him or her. I also know that sometimes when it goes to questions and answers, that it's better if you have someone ask a great question that leads the discussion into a positive direction, as opposed to someone who asks some crazy question that causes embarrassment. If your boss can tell you what would be his or her preferred first question in the Q&A, it would be my pleasure to ask it. In fact, when I have a sense that he or she's getting to the end of their speech and they're about to call for questions, I'm going to raise my hand up enthusiastically and say, I've got a question. When you do that, the speaker will be grateful to you. If it's a great question that people in the audience want the answer to, they'll be grateful to you. And I can tell you, as a speaker, you'd be someone I'd take notice of. So you might want to try that on. I'll give you a funny anecdote, because someone actually shared with me this approach of being the first one to ask a question, and I wanted to test it, I think 20 years ago. And one of the founders of Staples was a fellow named Tom Stemberg. He's passed away. And I heard that he was going to give a talk at a town hall meeting on a Staples store in Los Angeles. And I went to the store with the sole intention of asking the first question. And I didn't even know what the first question was going to be. And I was a little bit nutty. There was about 100 chairs set up in a Staples store. There was an L-shaped panel where Tom was at the apex of it, and other members of the Small Business Association in Washington were there. And I wanted to make sure that wherever I was seated, I was in front of a bunch of boxes. I wanted to be framed by boxes, because when I asked the first question and Tom was looking at me, I wanted him to see me framed by boxes and not distracted by people walking around and someone, in a strange, dress or suit or something like that. And so there was the panel discussion. There were all their comments. And I saw the MC click on the microphone, and he was about to say, are there any questions? And after he said, I raised my hand up and said, I've got a question. And he walked over to me. Now, I'm pretty quick on my feet. I've trained FBI and police hostage negotiators, so I can be pretty quick on my feet. And he walks over to me, and I'm going to ask the first question. And by the way, you can use this question almost in any setting. And I said, Tom, and Tom looks like an absent-minded professor. His tie was a little bit out of adjustment. His jacket wasn't fitting all that well, but he was brilliant. And he looked kind of like a little bit distracted. And I said, Tom, what is something that you wished you had done earlier that would have avoided a lot of the hassles later on? And Tom listened to me, and he looked up, and it's almost like someone put a battery in his neck, and his eyes just started wiggling, and he was sparkle, because people love answering that question. And he said, I wish we had done home delivery quicker. Office Depot beat us to it, and I should have thought You know, there's a lot of women who have to carry those heavy reams of paper up several flights of stairs into their offices. We should have thought about that. And I wish we'd done that sooner. And I said, that is great, Tom. And then he said, oh, I have another question. I said, okay, Tom. And then he asked another question. And then after that, people on the panel looked at me and they say, wait, we have an answer. So I said, okay, what was the answer? At any rate, I went up to Tom afterwards. He knew who I was. I gave him my card and I said, I love Staples. I love your story. And I love you're from Massachusetts because that's where I'm from. And that gave me a chance to distinguish myself and follow up with him afterwards. So I hope those 2 tips about how to win friends and influence important people will be helpful. And I hope you'll try them out. And I hope you'll send us your comments and responses to see how they worked out or how they backfire, because we're always learning from you and we're always grateful to you. Until next time, take good care.